what is a conservative? How would you answer that?
Well, glad you asked. I'll go ahead and refer
Yeah.
to the book. I center the book around a few people. One is Alexis de Tocqueville,
Hmm.
and I also center the book around the work of another figure who I find a very attractive figure. His name is Peter Viereck. Peter Viereck is a sort of a neglected figure in American conservatism. Everybody knows about William F. Buckley,
Hmm.
famous conservative author, and hosted a talk or debate television show called Firing Line that was on TV for 30 years,
Hmm.
sort of the first of all the talking head, programs.
Yeah.
And he's everybody knows who he is. Peter Viereck is somebody that is very much unknown, but he wrote two books on conservatism, and he was a historian. He was a historian of Eastern Europe and of Russia. He was a poet. He won a Pulitzer Prize for poetry in 1949. And his ideas on American conservatism are really compelling. And this is his definition of conservatism. He says, the conservative principles par excellence. You like the French accent that I have there?
I like it. It's pretty good. I didn't know when the last time you had
Yeah.
a French class was, but it's pretty
Been a
pretty good.
while.
Yeah.
It's been a while, Caleb. The conservative principles par excellence are proportion and measure, self-expression through self-restraint, preservation through reform, humanism and classical balance, a fruitful nostalgia for the permanent beneath the flux, and a fruitful obsession for unbroken historical continuity. These principles together create liberty, a liberty built not on the quicksand of adolescent defiance, but on the bedrock of ethics. And I get a lot of people ask me, what is conservatism? And there are a lot of definitions for it. In fact, it's funny. The number of articles, books, conference themes, blog posts, podcast episodes, you name it, with the theme of what is conservatism are just legion.
Hmm.
It's amazing how often the question, what is conservatism, frames, a book or a conference or something like that. Lots of different definitions. I love Peter Viereck's definition. I think a lot of people think of conservatism as something political. You're a conservative, that means you're a registered Republican,
Hmm.
that you voted for Trump or you voted for whatever person, or that you're automatically assumed to be pro-life, or if certain areas of the country, if you say you're a conservative, you're already assumed to be a racist or a so-called homophobe.
Hmm.
I'm not scared of gay people.
Yeah. Yeah. Me either.
It's not a phobia, but I mean, I have an aunt that's gay. She's a lesbian. She's out. I have a good friend that I've known most of my life who's gay.
Hmm.
I'm not afraid of these people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I find it interesting that in our culture today, if you're a conservative, it's almost always about politics. And that definition that Viereck gives is a reminder that being a conservative is more than just politics. It's really about who you are, what your worldview is defined by, and what you aspire to be, what kind of a person you want to be. Do you want to be a virtuous person or do you want to be a vicious person of vice? And a conservative is someone who has a particular worldview, a way of looking at change, for example. Liberals often say that conservatives don't like change and resist change and want to keep the status quo and keep
Sure.
things the same in the way they are. Speaking of William F. Buckley, he's often quoted. He has a famous statement that he made at the founding of National Review in 1955 or 56, whenever that was, when he said, "We desire to stand athwart history yelling stop." And liberals get the impression from that statement that we just want to resist change.
Yeah.
And that's not true at all. And it's certainly not true for Buckley. Buckley changed over the course of his life. He changed many of his views. For example, on race. He had a famous debate with James Baldwin in Oxford in 1963. And he lost the debate. And at first he insisted that he won, but as years went by, he came around and admitted that he actually lost. This is a man who's not cast in concrete. This is not a man who wants to keep the status quo. Conservatives don't resist change. Conservatives have a view on change that we want change to be managed. We want change to be directed by procedure and informed by tradition, and to be deliberate and slow and thought through. We don't consider change to be a good thing in and of itself, which is what
Yeah.
liberals think about change. Liberals think change is good in and of itself. If you're old enough to remember the 1992 presidential election, Bill Clinton ran on a platform of change.
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush used to say, "Change for change's sake is not necessarily a good thing." And in that sense, he represented the conservative disposition very well. You do remember 2008 when Barack Obama ran for.
Hmm.
He ran on change for the sake of change. That's a liberal position. Conservatives are realists and recognize that change is inevitable, but change should be